We've got another project in the workshop. This time it's a c-suffix 2-door Range Rover Classic that's been modified at some point in its life. Let's have a look round it. So yeah, I look like the bin man because it suddenly got cold here. Well, not cold, not in the biblical sense, but it's gone from being high teens to low teens. But never mind, shit happens. So what have we got here? Right, we have got here a c-suffix 1974 Range Rover Classic 2-door. At some point in its life, it was modified to resemble a CSK. Which is an interesting concept, but pictures I saw of it when it first when the current owner first got it, didn't look too bad actually. I think the amount of effort that went into it though, it would have kind of been counterproductive. Anyway, so what is my job here? So my job here is to get this body shell stabilised, and it is very good. We'll go around it in a second. Stabilised, prepped and painted back in its original Tuscan blue. The mechanicals, the customer's going to largely do themselves. The engine is, as you've probably guessed, is a 3.9 EFI. Comes with its loom and everything. It ran quite happily. It ran. I'm not so sure about the red nylon fuel lines, but never mind. So it did run. It's still running its 4-speed LT95. The dash is largely original, but it's got a later top section. You can tell by these window demist vents on the top dash, and the coin tray in the middle rather than the speaker grill, and the lack of face eyeball vents on the front face, etc, 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 etc. So when it comes to the restoration of this thing, this inner wing I'm happy with. This inner wing is just a little bit too short. Let me go and get my torch. So we've got the usual corrosion around the base of the battery box. It doesn't appear on the face of it to be extensive. When we look down here, you can see there's corrosion around the back end of the headlight box. It's had a fair few patches on this inner wing around and about. And I think if we're going to strip this thing down, we might as well do it really nicely. I think that's what the customer wants. Now, interestingly, if I can get my torch to turn on. Interestingly, the bulkhead, you can see we've had some welding go on up here, and there's telltales like that. The bulkhead was for a concealed hinge bonnet. That's an interesting one. What I think has happened here, because the slam panel is spot welded on. Slam panel is spot welded on. Okay, there's been some work around here, and I think this has been replaced at some point. This inner wing has been replaced at some point, because this is not a factory wing. I've got a feeling that from the A-posts forwards, the bulkhead is from a later car. When we look at the grommet, where the EFI loom comes through the bulkhead, we look down here, there's loom comes through the bonnet, through the bulkhead down there. I've got a feeling this is a much later bulkhead, certainly an EFI bulkhead. Holes on the side would signify that. I think these side pieces are original. It's possible they've been retrofitted, but the spot welding just looks too factory on this with the top face of the bulkhead. And also, these side panels, they don't come with these anchors for the bonnet springs. So I think, in reality, the bulkhead from here to the other side and all the way to the inside here has been taken from a later vehicle and then bolted rather than spot welded up to the original A pillars. B pillar, rear floor, rear arches and so forth. There's a couple of little bits in areas that I need to tidy up, but overall, the overall body structure on this thing is pretty blimmin' good. It's had some repairs in the past. I'll go over them because everything's single skinned. It makes life so much easier. It's had a replacement cross member. I just need to double check how beautiful that is, but on the face of it, it looks beautiful. I think overall the back end of the car needs less work than the front end, and the front end only really needs some remedial work to the screen pillars. This has gone very much like that Lincoln Green car did. The Lincoln Green car that had these on it. If I can get it out without lacerating myself, we just need to take our minds back to that Lincoln Green two-door project. That's a bad one. That's why I chopped it off and gave up with it and replaced it. This one, I can probably salvage this, so it's going to need to be flapped all the way back. See where we are with it, chop any rust out, and this is double skinned here anyway, and then weld in a new skin. The top rail up here is frillier than a pair of 1970s Parisian knickers. There's a thought, it's going to take a while to get out of my head. Sorry about that, folks. Didn't mean to do that. It needs to come out. I'm going to see if I can get that out without taking... Oh, there's a bird just flown into the workshop. I'm going to see if I can get that out without taking the roof off. I don't really want to take the roof off unless I have to. These we might need to start again with, though. Sorry to say. There's a lot of weight on the bonnet, and I think this steel is too thin. What I'm actually inclined to do is, once everything is kind of apart, drill the spot welds out for the original, for the sprung bonnet hinge brackets, retrieve some brackets from another bulkhead. I've got a parts bulkhead for the exposed hinge brackets, and then go from that perspective. I just think that these are going to move around a bit too much. We'll see. I'll see once it all comes apart. Once I get this lip off the front here, the dash out, then we'll see what's going on. Heater box, yeah, they all do that. In fact, that's rotted out on that end there. There's a huge hole there, so we might need to do some extra work with the heater. Luckily, I've got a few. There are a few heater boxes up there. We'll be able to find some parts in order to replicate or remedy this heater box. This A-pillar is in better shape, or screen pillar, although on this face here, I don't know if you can see, it's had some repairs welded in. It might be easier for me to chop this face out than to try and get that prepped and ready for paint. You've got to bear in mind, I'm just going to go over to the AA suffix over here, that when you open the door, quite how much of that A-pillar you see when you open the door. So it's important that the prep on the A-pillar is going to do the car justice once it's all back together again. Because effectively, the end game on this is going to be a c-suffix Range Rover with a 3.9 litre EFI engine and a 4-speed manual gearbox, but otherwise standard. So it's not a weapons grade resto mod, it's just a tricked up c-suffix Range Rover. It's going to be a good project, this one. I'm looking forward to it, because it's not... Well, I'm not going to jinx the project by saying it's not going to be a weldathon, because I do that every bloody time. But as a start point, this thing is in really, really good shape, and I think possibly having the much later bulkhead may have helped it. Obviously, the door seals and everything will end up getting replaced. These are all a bit too tired. I can get all those done. I've got a source for decent door seals as well. But overall, like I keep saying, it's really good. So I am going, because with a project of this size, and it's a bit like eating an elephant, there's only one way you can eat an elephant. And I've said it before, and I'll say it again. That's one bite at the time. So with a project like this, I need to not reach deep into, because I've done this a few times now, but I need to structure the project and not just go at every single thing a little bit. I need to start at one place and get that place to a point where I'm happy with it, and then move on to the next place. And because the back end structure of this thing is actually solid and the sills have been replaced, and overall it is in fairly good order, I'm actually inclined to start at the front end. I want this inner wing off. I want the pedal boxes out, pedal box and the loom out. I want to get the dash out. I want to see where we're going with this bulkhead. See what work is required to it. Maybe start drilling out these box sections that the sprung hinges would have gone to. Not worried about taking that out. That's really not an issue. Interestingly, down here, someone's dug the seam sealer out because you can see down and into into the bulkhead side of the car. So that's not to the inside of the car. That's to down here. So the engine bay side of the car. You can see my pinky finger. Because it's EFI, I don't need these holes because the EFI loom comes through down here. So I need to weld these up. We don't want those. We don't want holes unnecessarily on the structure of the car. I don't think I need to take the bulkhead out. But if we want to paint this bulkhead and the whole engine bay needs painting, then the engine's going to need to come out. Oh joy. But I think there's a fair bit of work to do before that. If I'm taking that inner wing off, it would make sense to take this inner wing off and get this painted off the car. It just makes life so much easier. And then I can paint the bulkhead, you see, with the inner wings off the car. We'll see what the axis is like once the inner wings are out of the way. It might be that with the inlet off the engine and the engine wrapped in tinfoil, tinfoil's great at keeping paint off things that you don't want to put paint on. And the loom out of the way, I might be able to paint it with the engine in place. We'll see. The problem's going to be getting the preparation done. Oh, you can see the side of the heater there. There's not a lot left on that heater, is there? The top section up there. Might be able to repair it, might not. We'll see. It's not beautiful, is it? Yeah, so that's it. So that's this project. The customer was concerned that the loom looked a bit untidy. I'm trying to reassure him, yeah, they pretty much all look like that. Transmission tunnel might come out, we'll see. I'll see what I'm going to do with the bulkhead. If I'm taking the engine out, then it makes sense to take the gearbox cover out. If I'm not taking the engine out, I'll leave the gearbox cover in, but it's not fixed to the floor anyway at the moment. So we might need to just see what's going on with floors. I think the main objective here is, you can see the hole over there on the leading edge of the rear arch. The objective here is for me to do the bits that the customer can't do, and the customer's then going to finish the project off. That makes sense. To paint the back end here, because obviously all these pillars, the A pillar, the B pillar, and the goal post, they're all going to get painted in the body colour. All around here needs painting in the body colour. So all the seals and everything needs to come out. It might be easier in the long run to take the roof off in order to paint it, because getting the prep up there, because that all needs to be painted body colour up there, getting the prep up there might be such that the roof does need to come off. That's a shame actually, because the paint on the roof is bloody good. I've just noticed we've got a later style roof on here. We've got the one with the cutout for the sunroof. Ah yes, pleasant afternoon, listen to the radio. Not very good for footage, so I'm afraid, folks. There's nothing particularly dramatic about getting the dashboard out of these things. There was a world of extra wiring involved though, and that was all largely around a aftermarket alarm system that have been put into the car, and that was all centered around this wee box here. So Gemini 1023, motion sensors on the corner of the dash and everything. Didn't really seem to be connected up to an awful lot though. So what we're left with now, heater unit is next, and then the loom can come out from the bulkhead. There's just one connector over there that takes the loom to the back end of the car. I'm going to leave the EFI loom in place because I think it's sufficiently out of the way. Worst case scenario is I pull it all through and into the engine bay and tuck it up for when we do the paintwork. Once I've got the loom out of the way, then I can get the pedal box out on this side. Radiator does need to be drained down though. I did double check, it's about half full of something. So So I'll just need to suck all that out. The bonnet catch came off okay. There's a nice brace panel down there which came off okay. I can now withdraw the bonnet release cable. I can go over there somewhere just so it's out of the way. I'll coil that up later on. And now I can kind of see what's going on here. And it looks like it's been spot welded up there as well. These bolts here look like they are holding something else together. I don't know. I really don't know. Oh no, hang on a second. Could be talking absolute bollocks here, chap. Maybe it isn't spot welded on. Well, that's saved me a shitload of fucking time, hasn't it? How about that? Right, well that's good news. I can undo these bolts then, and this slam panel can come out, which is what I'm going to do right now. I'll be honest, I completely wasn't expecting that. That's rather good news. So it does look like, at some point, this car's had a whole load of brand spanking new panels put in it, I reckon. So we've got the holes through the tops of the wings that the bolt holes would have originally gone through, but that evidently has never been fitted to anything else. So I wonder if someone managed to get hold of a brand spanking new stock front slam panel. Well, it all helps the project. Right, okay, so this rad will be a bit easier now to sort out. I need to get that drained down. I also need to work out what fixings I've got in here, down there. So where's my torch? There's my torch. Ah, nuts and bolts. Well, that doesn't look too much of a problem, does it? 2 bolts there. Just close the lid on that before I kick it all over. And 2 bolts down there. Well, that looks like that might come off fairly easily. There's a lump of glute down there and 2 bolts through here. Well, these things traditionally were bolt there, 2 bolts on the top, 2 bolts down the side where the mounting point to the chassis goes on the bulkhead. 4 bolts at the front here, 1 for the rad, and then 1 big mounting point down here, and then you should be able to lift the entire damn thing out. Now obviously we've got things like pressure differential warning actuator down there. We've also got the servo will be in the way in order for me to get it out, so I'll need to clear the brake lines out of the way before I can get the wing off. I want to get it off intact to see if there's anything that can be done with it without us having to go down the route of a brand new wing. Because, in all honesty, it doesn't look bad. There's some localised rust on it. We'll see. We will see. But I want to get both wings off it. Because it's going to make life easier painting them. But it'll also make life an awful lot easier when it comes to the bulkhead painting. I'm not anticipating, apart from the bonnet hinges, I'm not anticipating a huge amount of work on the bulkhead. There is a degree of patchery going on the footwell on the inside, face, which, if it's solid, let's go on the other side actually, I'll grab the torch on the way around there. If it's solid, then I'm not bothered about it. But here you can see someone's welded a bloody great patch in there. And there's been a patch at the top up there as well. So I think once it's all apart, if it's all solid, it's all looking like it's in good quality kind of work, then there's no real need to disturb it. This A-post is looking slightly better than I anticipated. I've had a little bit of a scratch around. We'll see. This one's certainly better than the passenger side one, although there is some flaking rust up there. I reckon once that's treated, we should be okay. I don't want to start pulling the entire body frame apart. So, there's no need for me to undo the bolts that secure the bulkhead side to the car. But obviously when it comes to welding these holes up, I'll need, really, I want to get as much of the loom out of the way as I possibly can. I don't want to be jeopardising anything at all. I'll tell you one thing. That wire there, which I think is front fogs, that front fog wire, the red one with the yellow stripe on it, that has been at some point very warm indeed. Now That's always disappointing. Let me just see if I can get that to sit there, because then I can work two-handed. That's always quite disappointing to see, because you don't know when that goes back into the loom how far that has gone through the loom, and it could well be that the loom is fuckity fuckface. So it will come through there at some point and then head down towards the front of the car. Well, the rest of the wires to the front of the car are here. I'll have a look at that. I shall come back to you on the red and yellow wire. I think it's front spots, or maybe it's rear fog. I'll have to have a look over there. There's some unusual wires going back and forth. It looks like it's had extra wiring put in for interior lights and so forth. Customer did mention he might be considering a brand new loom for this. That might not be a bad call. No reason to take the steering column out. We can leave that in place, but the pedal box can come out fairly easily. And we continue. Right, okay, servo's out. There's something awkward going on there though. There's a lot of surface rust built up on that. And the back of the servo, similarly, looks grim. It's actually a felt washer on there, which has just soaked moisture up. The rubber washer, sorry, rubber grommet that goes through. And I think it's just got wet with the bonnet being off at some point. Couldn't tell you. Anyway, trying to get the pedal box out next. And all of these 8 fixings are incredibly tight. I don't know why. They just are. Before that comes out, I just want to separate the clutch hydraulics. The clutch master can come out with the pedal box and we can deal with that on the floor. Other than that, literally just got 2 bolts down here, 2 bolts down there, 2 bolts here, 1 bolt down here, and this front inner wing can come off. We can see then, once it's on the deck, how bad that actually is. I probably need a better light at this end of the workshop. Not used to working at this end of the workshop. Yes, I think that makes sense. I think we've got all the fixings undone. Let's do that again, Richard. I think we've got all the fixings undone now. So I've undone the fixings along the top edge, along the mount edge, the 2 fixings that went through the bulkhead side, and the mount down here. And in theory, this bugger should now come off. Can you see? Can you see? You can see. Probably going to be looking at my arse though. Oh, it might have been sealed in. It might have been glued on here. That really should be thinking about coming off. There we go. Got a body caulking, I think. It has got a body caulking. Might be a lot of silicone in there as well. So we've got that piece off there. And we've got this piece off here. Now, is that? Found some filler. Well, that can be repaired once the wing's off. There we go. Body caulking snapped. You can see it all over there. It's not a problem in itself, but I thought not to worry about body caulking. It doesn't need to be. And if you prevent water from entering, you also prevent it from escaping, is my theory. That should. A weld down there. There might be a weld here. Somewhat annoyingly. Someone might have just put a blob of weld there. Now, these flexi lines are still attached. So we just chop the flexi lines because I'm not going to go any further. I thought that the lines were all out actually, but they're not. Never mind. Just go and get Monsieur le Tapis and just see if we can bang that down. That was Mr. Tappy. Hello, Mr. Tappy. got an old chisel too. I'll update. Oh, pry bar. That's it. I think that is it. Right, but what we are going to have to do is to chop through these flexes. So because the other side wasn't connected, I'd assume this side wasn't connected either. So let me get in with Mr. Reciprocating Saw and have those off. Protect the tyre. That'll do. And let's go that way round. Or maybe that way. Come on, you fucker. It's not going to go. They're wobbling too much with the reciprocating saw. Yeah, reciprocating saw is not going to go through those. Oh, for fuck's sake. Nothing's ever fucking easy, is it? Well, at least the wing's off at the top edge over there. Right, bolt cutters. That fucking did it. Right, wing can come off. They're not being saved for anything. They're going to be replaced. So they're out of the way. Now, what have we got left? There's that filler I was telling you about. Looks like a bit of bag, doesn't it? Don't know what's going on there. I'll tidy up that edge anyway, get all the body caulking off it, and see really what's going on with the mounting here. That rubber stinks. The inner wing itself, yeah, it's a tired one. It probably would have lasted a few more years, but if we're going to paint the car, we might as well replace the damn thing, eh? Bulkhead side though looks in very good order. Just need to address this bit where that white oblong is. Right, now, the other thing I wanted to look at when it was all apart was the mounting to the chassis, which was looking a bit rusty from above. This bit down here. It's looking a bit rusty from above, but whether it's just where there's mud and so forth sitting on it, I couldn't tell you. Now, because we're going to be painting these inner wings, what I might do is get the other inner wing off anyway, and then I can start working with the bulkhead and getting that painted. But before I paint the bulkhead, I've got to do the bonnet hinges. Oh, it's never ending, isn't it? Holy crap, holy! Well, that escalated quickly, didn't it? I need to get, because obviously we're painting the bulkhead, I need to get down the back of the engine. And I really can't see how I'm going to do that with the engine in place. So it could well be either I remove the bulkhead or I remove the engine. We'll have to have a think about how best to do that. At the moment, there are the number of bolts holding the engine in. Well, we've got the steering shaft. We've got 4 bolts down this side, 4 bolts down the other side. Probably not an awful lot. It's welded to the sill, so we're not removing the bulkhead because otherwise I have to cut the end of the sill. Normally there's a line of bolts along here, so the bulkhead's been welded to the sill. So realistically then, to get around and paint around the back of the engine and to paint the bulkhead, we're kind of looking at doing that. There's a nasty looking terminal block down there, look at that. Oh my goodness. Oh, I don't like the look of that. That's not standard. No, 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 no. I don't know what's going on there. We can do better than that. I had a little prod around on here. That doesn't look anywhere near as bad as it looks. Sorry, it's not anywhere near as bad as it looks. Up here, we've got some corrosion along this lip. You probably can't see because the torch is too close. Let's move the torch away. So there is some corrosion along this edge here. Along here, I don't know if you can see daylight through it. There is daylight, you can see through it. And then we've got this piece of, I thought it was filler, it's actually a piece of metal with zinc paint on it. And someone's been in there and MIG welded that in. And I think now's the opportunity to get that sorted out properly. Bulkhead side panels, both very good, both very original. It's been welded to the floor down there, but otherwise I can't see an awful lot of reasons why we want to kind of dig that all out. There's a little bit of surface rust at the top up there, and I get the feeling that there's the other side of those holes. So someone's welded a couple of patches over the inside. In fact, that one looks better welded than that one. That one looks like it's just been a couple of tacks around the edge of it. And then ultimately what's happened is that moisture comes down the inner wing, gets caught, sorry, torch is in the way again, gets caught in this area here, and then rots that out, which is quite a common rot spot on these Range Rover Classics. The top edge of the bulkhead is all in really good order. No real nasties up there. But yeah, we need to sort the you know, kind of the whole loom area on this thing is a bit of a disaster. Now, I did pull the loom through the box, so once you've kind of unhooked the loom from around the steering column over there, heater box needs to come out. Heater box needs to come out. I've taken the gear stick off because otherwise I'm going to just gouge my face apart with it every time I go in there. And then the loom more or less goes through the box, complete with the box. Now this loom, it's got some challenges, not least someone's been going berserk with the crimp, the butt crimps. But some of these, the green wires here, well, they're all exposed. So I think it's going to kind of lean towards the customer just replacing the loom outright. There's some broken wires there. Look, that's a main beam. The white and blue, or blue and white wire, is a main beam, and there, that wire there is the front fog light, and I can see that that has melted there. I can see where the insulation has melted through. So I suspect if I was to peel all this insulation back, I'd find a very burnt red and yellow wire as it goes through there. In fact, there, it's burnt through there as well. So someone's burnt out the front spot loom and probably taken the rest of the loom, or compromised the rest of the loom. This piece of accessory wiring here I think is for the fuel tank. So I can just unplug that. In fact, one of the crimps there isn't even in. One of the fuses is in the wrong location as well. So I don't know how that ever works. We've got a really, really nice heavy duty 120 amp earth cable in red. It's not ideal, folks. It's really not ideal. Oh, don't like that. I think what will end up happening is once I've done all the bodywork on this, I don't know if the customer's going to be putting the loom in or whether he wants me to put the loom in. But it needs doing a lot more securely than this. But it's typical of a kind of a project that's... So the bulkhead is definitely a different bulkhead to the age of the car, because there's too many differences, such as the grommet up here, which I think was for the flapper EFI setup, but the loom for the hot wire EFI setup has gone through it. That normally would go down onto the floor. I'll have to double check mine to see whether there's a grommet there or not. Most of the loom would normally go through this hole up here on the EFI cars, but that's not going to happen. In fact, look at this. Yeah, there's been some moisture got in there. Look, the surface rust, but it's been caught well in time. And I've pulled miles and miles, and I mean literally miles of alarm cabling out. It's all over the bloody place, it really is. Heater unit is distressed, but now it's all stripped down and I can see the wood for the trees, I know where we're going. So I think before engine comes out, we get the inner wings sorted out, we get these bonnet hinges sorted out, and what I'm probably going to end up having to do here is to drill the spot welds and take the original sprung bonnet hinge mechanism off and replace that with a an exposed bonnet hinge, because I'm not convinced that that is going to work properly. It doesn't look the right dimensions. I've got a couple of deck panels, so I've got a deck panel up there which came off Bob, You Bob aficionados will remember the, let's go over here, the logo on the end. I don't know if you can see it up there. It's Burlesque Lady. Oh yes. And I mean, obviously, once the inner wings get dropped back on again, I can just double check that the bonnet is going to fit properly. All of this lot needs to be cleaned up. Tidy this lot up down here. We can get this thing closer towards painting. At the moment, there's structural work that needs doing. I mean, overall, the bulkhead is in very good order, but I need to sort out obviously the bonnet hinges. The other thing that's missing, by the way, on here. So on these earlier cars where the wings were bolted on, they had a ribbed section which ran along here, a reinforced ribbed section. Well, that's not on here, and as you can see, the panel's bowed all over the place because there's no reinforcement in there. So I can fix that by putting reinforcement in there when I weld the other hole up. That's not particularly difficult. Some interesting welding down there, but it's all... What I'll probably do, I guess, is well, I can't put the smoke machine in because I've got no doors. Yeah, there's holes all through it. Look, you can see the light shining through. So we might end up taking all this light out anyway. I don't know. Or maybe that just needs seam sealer. And there's a few quite big holes along that edge there. And it wants to be solid. This area here, runs down here, is in very good order. You can see someone's made a repair there. Probably when they put the wing on. So the repair has gone behind that lip. That's probably going to be fine. I would be inclined, once it's all painted, not to put seam sealer on that lip, because water is inevitably going to get in there. And if it is going to get in there, you just want it to get back out again really easily. And if you put seam sealer in there, it's going to get in and it's going to get trapped. It's just one of those areas. Seam sealer to protect the inside of the car, yeah, I can understand that. So I put seam sealer down the edge of this A post here. Because you really don't want water getting in past the bulkhead side panel. But when it comes to the wheel arch, the outer wheel arch, sorry, inner wheel arch I should say, maybe not there. I don't know. I'm sure I'll divide opinion on that one. And then the loom for the back end, I just unhooked it through the hole in the dashboard and just throw it back there. It's all a bit of a mess really. I'm not concentrating on loom at the moment. I'm concentrating on bulkhead and front inner wings. But there you go. That's probably, to get to this point from where you saw the start of the project, we're probably about 7 to 8 hours to strip this thing down like this. There's been a few seized fixings. There's been some challenges around the pedal box. A couple of bolts broke on that. There are some areas that are going to need welding. Steering still needs to come off. And I'll probably take off the bulkhead mountings as well. Because I want to be able to paint around those. It's quite a late axle on this. Has it got vented discs on it? Can't quite see. Go around this side, probably easier. No, we've got solid discs. Right, and sort out what on earth all of these power distribution things are that are going on down here, because that just looks crazy. Yeah, I don't know about that at all. All looks a bit crazy. And let's replace earth cables with black pipe and not with red pipe. Because it looks like it's going down to the back of the starter motor, but it doesn't. It goes underneath the starter motor and then bolts onto the back, onto the engine plate, onto the bell housing just behind the starter. Which is an odd thing. Very early steering shaft. Double check whether that's intact or not. But other than that, yeah, I'm not going to grumble. It is a solid body shell. Indeed. Just before the end credits, give me a thumbs up if you liked that. Give me a thumbs down if you didn't. mind you, you've got all the way to the end of it, so you probably would have given me a thumbs down by now anyway. Comments down below. All of these things do help to promote the work that I do and promote to YouTube for your benefit. If you want to contact me, churchhouseclassics, it's all one word, @gmail.com. And if you want to support the channel, then there's a PayPal me link scrolling down here. Both my email and the PayPal me link are in the description below this video. And that's my car, still sitting here. I might have to change this feature once it gets back on the road. It'll embarrass me enough into getting this back on the road. Anyway, thank you very much for watching.